For decades, skeptics argued that Jesus of Nazareth was a myth, a figure of pure legend. However, the records of the very empire that executed him suggest otherwise. The Roman historian Tacitus, writing in his Annals, explicitly documents that Christus suffered the extreme penalty during the reign of Tiberius. This execution is recorded by hostile witnesses, including the Jewish historian Josephus. These accounts sit outside religious scripture, placing the event within the historical record of first-century Judea. These documents move the investigation from the realm of legend into the scrutiny of fact. A real man lived, and he was killed by the state. Following the execution, the body was reportedly placed in a rock-hewn tomb. The entrance was sealed by rolling a 2-ton limestone block into a pre-cut groove, creating a physical barrier that required several men to move. To prevent tampering, the Roman governor stationed an elite guard unit at the site. These were professional soldiers who faced execution themselves if they failed. This is Jerusalem, the exact city where the execution took place. Historical consensus holds that by Sunday morning, the tomb in this city was empty, an event that triggered the immediate, explosive growth of the early Christian movement. Had the body remained in the cave, Roman or Jewish authorities could have produced the corpse and paraded it through these streets, ending the movement before it began. This documented absence of a body creates a vacuum. We can now apply forensic principles to the surviving theories to see which one holds up. The first hypothesis suggests a simple theft, that the disciples secretly moved the body under the cover of darkness. This requires matching the suspects against the security. The disciples were a group of terrified, uneducated fishermen who had gone into hiding. They were up against a unit of professional, heavily armed Roman guards, whose lives depended on keeping that seal intact. The idea that these peasants orchestrated a silent, tactical raid to move a 2-ton stone without alerting the guards collapses under basic logical scrutiny. Some suggest he never died at all, the swoon theory, which claims Jesus merely passed out from the pain and later revived in the cool air of the tomb. Forensic analysis of the pre-cross trauma suggests otherwise. Under extreme psychological terror, the body can undergo hematidrosis, where capillaries around the sweat glands rupture, causing the victim to literally sweat blood and leaving the skin in a state of extreme fragility. Then came the Roman scourging, a flaying that used lead weights and jagged bone to tear through skin and muscle. This caused massive blood loss, pushing the heart into a desperate racing rhythm known as hypovolemic shock. Spikes through the wrists crushed the median nerve. Yet death came from asphyxiation. The hanging body couldn't exhale without pushing up on pierced feet. Finally, a spear pierced the pericardium, releasing blood and watery fluid, the definitive forensic proof of death. It is medically impossible for a man in this condition to survive, wake up in a sealed cave, roll away a 2-ton stone with punctured hands, and overpower a guard unit. If he didn't survive, we are left with a theory of mass hallucination, that hundreds of followers imagine seeing him alive due to grief. Clinically, hallucinations are individual, internal psychological events. There is no documented medical history of a synchronized group hallucination, where hundreds of people interact with the same event at the same time. Furthermore, a psychological break does not explain the empty tomb. Had the followers been hallucinating, the authorities would have simply produced the rotting corpse to end the delusion. Look at the behavioral shift. The same men who fled in terror were weeks later publicly challenging the empire that killed their leader. These men were beaten, exiled, and eventually executed in horrific ways. Not one of the original witnesses ever recanted their testimony. People will die for a lie they believe is true, but history shows that no one willingly dies for a lie they know they invented. This is the negative exposure image of the Shroud of Turin, a physical enigma that continues to challenge forensic science. The image contains 3D topographical data and was not created by paint or pigment. One scientific theory suggests the image was formed by a brief, powerful burst of radiation that scorched only the uppermost fibers of the linen. The Roman Empire is gone, its gods turned to dust. Yet the death of a penniless carpenter remains the point where the human calendar resets. Science can reconstruct the physical trauma of the cross, but the specific mechanism of the empty tomb remains the most significant outlier in the historical record.